Hi guys, I'm Maylin Dovan, certified athletic therapist and founder of Rehab-U Movement and Performance Therapy. One thing that really gets me lately is the glute med is shut down and we're trying to strengthen the glute med. We're sticking a band between the knees while squatting. We're doing band walks, we're doing band shuffles, because we're proposing that everybody has a weak glute med. Oftentimes that's because people are coming out of the hole on heavy squats and their knees are caving in slightly, and so we're jumping to the conclusion that glute meds are weak. So first and foremost, for one, before we start blaming the glute med, we should probably look at the feet. And I've discussed this in a previous capsule. Stop blaming the glute med. So if you haven't seen it, go have a listen to that capsule where I talk about how if we don't have stability in the feet, the knees are going to cave in, and that may not be a glute med weakness problem, it's a foot stability problem. So first and foremost, there's that. Second of all, when we're talking about deep squatting, when we're in the bottom of a squat, the hip adductors are actually in a more advantageous position to fire. So we're going to get a bit of pull towards the inside, and that's not necessarily the end of the world. And a lot of people are treating it like it's the end of the world. If you look at Olympic weightlifters, you'll see that a lot of them have their knees caving in when they come up out of the hole in their squat. And nobody's sticking a band around their knees and having them do band walks in the gym, okay? And I would not dare tell one of them that his glute med is shut down, all right? That being said, if you do want to test the glute med, I'm going to show you how we do the test and how easy it is to fake that test to make your client believe that his glute meds are weak and you're going to fix them, okay? So I'm going to have Frank lie down on your side, facing the camera. Yeah, that's good. Now, here's how we clinically test the glute med, Kendall muscle testing. So I'm gonna have you bring this knee up forward so that you can be a bit more stable. Good. So we want, first of all, don't want the hips rolling back. So we're gonna have the hips stacked one on top of the other. He's gonna take this leg into abduction, and we wanna take him into extension. So bring the leg back. Again, roll the hips forward a slight bit. And then he's gonna rotate out just a tight tad, okay? So knee completely extended, good. So first and foremost, here's the proper position, okay? Now, Frank's a pretty big guy, right? He's a pretty big guy, he's a pretty strong guy. And I could go, okay, Frank, I'm gonna push against you and you resist me, okay? Oh, your glute med is weak, okay? Because he's got such a mechanical disadvantage here that it would be really easy for me to be like, oh, now your glute med is weak, so your squats are not optimal, this and that. What I really want to see is, first of all, he can get into the position pretty well. So already there, he's pretty activated in his glute med, and I'm going to say, push up against me. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to push down and push down a little bit harder. That's only as long as the test should last. You can relax. I've got him tired now. So literally, the test should last 2-3 seconds. It's push against my resistance. I see if he can meet my resistance. I increase that resistance by about 5%, and I see if he can still meet. It's not about me out muscling him in a position where I've got this really long lever and I can stick all of my body weight. I weigh 120, he weighs, I don't know, much more than me, and I could say, oh, well, your glute med is weak, okay? So here's the proper way to test it. If you do find yourself in a situation where you want to test the glute med. Another good way to test it, if you can stand up, Frank, yes, the glute med is a hip abductor, so it's a muscle that does this, but its main function is to keep your pelvis level when you stand on one leg. If you didn't have a glute med when you stand on one leg, you wouldn't be able to keep your pelvis level. So this is the abduction that the glute med does, okay? So if you really want to know, is it weak, have the person stand on one leg. So lift one knee up. And now if his glute med was shut down, he'd be toppling over, okay? He'd be leaning to the side, okay? So this is a good test if you actually want to see if there's a little bit of glute med dysfunction, and rarely is this test ever positive in someone who's very active. In a clinical setting, you can find this test to be positive, but it rarely is here. So essentially what I mean to say here is There's this big fad about saying that the glute med is weak and let's strengthen it. Let's put bands, let's do clamshells, let's do all kinds of things where actually they're not the most appropriate ways to target it, or it's not the problem in the squat. It's not the one that's causing the knees to cave in. So first of all, let's dispel the myth that it's always about the glute med. And second of all, if you're going to test it right before you start telling people that their glute med doesn't work.